It's been a long time since I've made a Simutrans video, so let's jump straight back in with something completely different. We're going to take a first look at a map of Southeast Europe, starting with a journey from Budapest in Hungary to Vienna in Austria. You can find out more about this map on the Simutrans forum, so check the links in the video description below. This map covers the area from Vienna to Istanbul and everything in between. And for anybody who remembers the game Railroad Tycoon 3 from back in the day, the area of this map matches up almost exactly with the Orient Express map in that game. The map includes the whole of Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Bosnia and the rest of the Western Balkans, along with parts of Croatia, Austria, Greece, Slovakia, Ukraine and Turkey. So it's a pretty large area, approximately a 1,000 kilometers square. I'll post a link to an image of the map in the description for those who are curious about what's covered. If you followed my British videos, you might remember how the aim of that project was to recreate the rail network as closely as possible to how it exists in real life. This map is different. Instead of trying to recreate real life, this is a fictional map, which is a nice way of saying that I'm making it up as I go along. It was not quite that simple. The map is still geographically accurate and all the cities are where you'd expect them to be, but most of the transport network doesn't mirror real life. Instead, it's more of an idealised version. The map tries to imagine what the rail network in Southeast Europe might look like if it was on a par with other parts of Europe, and if lots of the real-life political and economic barriers weren't in place. The reason this is an interesting project is because in most of the countries covered by this map, rail travel isn't competitive with road travel in terms of journey time. The trains will usually take much longer, so there are lots of potential improvements to be made. One example is the journey between Budapest and Belgrade, which is a major transport corridor on this map. These are two cities the size of Birmingham, and they're about 230 miles apart by road. For a UK comparison, that's a little bit further than the distance between London and York. Now, Google says that the road journey between Budapest and Belgrade should take about 3.5 hours. But in real life, the train between Budapest and Belgrade takes 7 hours, and that's twice as long as driving. And the train only goes twice a day. Trains between London and York, which is a similar distance, take 2 hours and go twice an hour. So this map is trying to correct those differences. On this map, the travel time from Budapest to Belgrade is 3 hours 11 minutes, faster than the car journey, and there are 2 trains per hour. These travel times are all simulated in Simutrans Experimental. I've talked about this before and you can find out more information about it on the forums. I should add that in real life there are currently plans to upgrade the Budapest to Belgrade line with some kind of high-speed capability, but at the moment the 7-hour rail journey is all you'll get. Now on this map I've tried not to introduce any crazy or unrealistic infrastructure, so nothing here is a complete pipe dream. There aren't any tracks, for example, allowing speeds over 100 miles an hour, that's 160 kilometers per hour, and that's not even as fast as you can go on the east and west coast main lines in the UK. And it also means there's no high-speed rail on this map. Now that might seem odd, but there are so many improvements that you can make even with those restrictions in place. So it's a fictional map, imagining what the region could look like with better infrastructure, but still trying to keep things realistic. I've been talking about how this map differs from real life, and we've been watching the trip from Budapest to Vienna. And the irony is that this part of the map differs the least from the real life situation of anywhere on the map, and that's because Hungary and especially Austria already have really decent rail networks. So while the journey time from Budapest to Vienna on this map is a tiny bit less than it is in real life, the main change is the frequency. The real schedule between Budapest and Vienna gives you 1 train every 2 hours between the 2 cities. But the trains on this map go every half hour. I think that seems reasonable for 2 large cities that are only 130 miles apart. That's about the same distance as between London and Cardiff or between Rome and Florence. Now for most of this journey we haven't been following the fast train. We've jumped between a number of different trains on the route to take a bit of a slower approach. The red train that we're following right now is the fast train from Budapest to Vienna, but we only started following it recently and we're about to jump off it again onto a different train when we get to Brook an der Leitha. Making this map is quite a different challenge to the British map you've seen in earlier videos. There the challenge was in making the real timetable work in a simulated environment. But here the challenge is in making my own schedule of routes that all fit together with one another. This map is fully timetabled like the British map. Again, there was an earlier video on that explains how to do it in Simutrans Experimental, so I won't go into that in too much detail. Making my own schedule is sometimes easier than recreating an existing one because I get to control everything, but it's sometimes harder because it can be really difficult to get everything to fit together, and it gives you huge respect for the people who have to figure out real-life timetables. But of course in Simutrans you have access to quite a lot more get-out-of-jail free cards. If I'm having trouble with a route, I can always just say, oh, maybe I'll just build another platform there or another passing place to get around that. But that's not really something that timetable builders in real life have access to. Let me finish off with a few facts about the map. I've been working on it since 2012, on and off, mostly off, which is why it's nowhere near complete. The northwest quarter of the map, covering Hungary, Austria, Slovakia, Croatia, northern Serbia, is pretty much done. Some parts of western Romania are done too, but there's still a lot to do. There are 938 trains and buses on the map at the moment, and about 1,300 towns. 29 million tiles make up the map, each representing a 200 metre square, so every 5 squares on the map makes up a kilometre. In the future I'll try and find some other interesting routes to show off. Let me know on the forums if there's anything you'd like to see in this region. And meanwhile we'll finish off by watching this suburban slow train from Vienna, which is going to go all the way through to the other end of the city to Purkersdorf. And thanks for watching.